Yo, Moo Time here.
Yo, it's Michael McGarrahan.
Yo, it's Brendan Mascherino.
Howdy, this is Cameron Vacation Getaway Crawford, and by now, you've probably realized that this is a video episode. For our 20th episode anniversary, a lot of people have wanted us to do video, and here it is. And with us today, as you can probably see, we have two special guests, but it seems like an injustice to call these people special guests because they're so much more than that. These two people, we've wanted them on the podcast since week 1, week 2.
Since the beginning. Since the beginning.
And these two men are both very inspiring to me and the other boys at this table. So without further ado, please introduce yourself.
I'm Mr. Bose.
I'm Mr. Steinmacher.
Yo! Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem, guys.
Happy to be
thank
on.
You.
Oh.
Oh, consider it happy.
Oh, I'm considering it.
So, why don't, Mr. Bose or Mr. Steinmacher, why don't you start us off, if you guys have been thinking about a story or anything that you'd like to start us off with?
Anything?
Man,
Go ahead.
I really wish that I was told about topics before I
Hey, I'm sorry.
Classic Mike.
I was. In the meantime, there's another person in the studio right now who might have a special surprise.
Oh God.
Oh man.
Wait.
Who is
Oh,
it?
come
Little
around
special?
this way. Come around this way so we can see your
Is
face.
that Luke Lennon?
Who is this?
Howdy, everybody.
Oh,
This
yo.
is you, Mr. Bose.
Yo!
Show the camera.
Mr. Bose! There he is.
That's
Who's
Mr.
that,
Bose.
Mr.
Oh
Bose?
my God.
Beauty.
You know,
That's
wanna
pretty
know what's
cool.
even better?
Oh my God. Thank you.
A pocket size, Mr. Bose.
Oh my
The
God.
camera,
A
Brendan.
pocket size.
Oh, it's so well.
Oh, it's so cute.
That's I don't have any words to describe
Isn't
that.
that great?
Oh, that's absolutely
That's beautiful.
amazing. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, you're gonna hang in your
On my cart.
on your cart. Yeah.
Yo, that'd be
It's a
amazing.
little conceited.
No, you're hanging. It's already been decided. You're hanging it on your cart.
All right, I will do
Just
so.
put it up on your whiteboard on the.
It's so good.
Oh, Luke, amazing.
Yeah, that-
Wonderful job
You're welcome.
with
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Thank you.
Great work, Shelby.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Luke. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Luke.
Oh,
So,
Shall we stand up now?
oh man, I don't know how to
you're at a
respond
loss
to
for
this.
words.
Yeah, I am. I really am.
I think I might be tearing up here.
I told you the tissues were necessary.
What do you can't frame this because it's already
Yeah.
made
Exactly.
out of wood.
It is
So
a
you
frame
can't,
by
yeah.
itself.
You just
Yeah.
stick
It's
it
just
on the wall.
artwork.
You just admire it.
That's pretty cool.
Again, it's a little conceited to like admire myself.
Hey, it's okay.
He's a modern Michelangelo.
I'm sure your mom
Gorgeous.
would appreciate it way more.
Oh
but-
yeah,
Shout out
this
to
is too much.
Sarah.
So, Mr. Steinmacher, I told you in physics class if you could prepare a story by
A couple hours ago, yeah, I did give it a little thought.
Oh, okay.
I got a couple options here. We can go through a couple quick things, just little fun things, not anything too heavy. You want one from the teacher side? Something funny that happened last year?
Oh,
Oh.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'd love
Alright.
to hear this.
So, most students know, anybody who's ever been in a science classroom knows that we got all those lab benches sitting around the outside, and all those lab benches come with little drawers to open up for storage. So ideally, teachers are supposed to put materials in there, and then really organized students can go in there when they need to do a lab, they get all their little stuff, and then
Yeah,
the teachers don't have to put it out. That's the idea. We know that never works. Anybody who's been in a science room knows those drawers are used for
Yeah.
two things. And there's a teacher, I guess I don't want to bring any other teachers into this who don't know they're involved, but there was another science teacher, right, who said that those drawers are used for two things, and exactly two things. And you guys probably know it. Anybody listening probably knows. You draw genitalia in there, or you put trash in there. That's the only two things you do with those drawers. That's the only, no science materials are in there, because if they were, the students would just fiddle with them and mess up.
Exactly.
We can't keep anything important in there, it would probably just disappear, unfortunately. So those are the two things. Maybe if you want to go with the third thing, it's a footrest, right? You take one of the bottom ones out while you're on the stools, it's a footrest. That's it.
It's
So
kind of
sad
like
when
the
you say it like
stalls
that.
in the West bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Oh,
nothing good's happening in there.
Every once in a while, I do like to go in there and just peruse what's been added since the
You'd be
last time.
surprised.
Read the
It's-
Stall Street
it's
journals.
It's gone to a new
Some
level.
people have conversations in there.
I don't know
Exactly.
what this is. I can't-
There was a great poem in there the other day. I don't know if it's still in there. This is in the downstairs square men's room. I don't know if the poem is still there, but it was good. It was good. I
you
would
got
recommend.
it.
I would recommend checking that out. No,
Downstairs
there's a
by the
swear.
guidance? By the guidance?
No, in the square.
Oh, the square. There's a swear in the square?
There's a swear in the square. Yeah.
So these drawers, I'm not, there's still more. So Mr. Schultz had this great idea where he wasn't the one who originally said what I said, but he had this great idea. He just put a screw right in every drawer. He just closed every drawer. If anybody's in Mr. Schultz's room, you probably noticed you can't open any of those drawers. He just put a screw right in there. Didn't ruin it. You could take the screw back out and use the drawers if you really wanted. But so I was like, that's a great idea. So myself and some of the physics teachers, we did that in the physics rooms, the main physics rooms down close to the office. So we did that a couple years ago. Last year, Mr. Seegers and I are in the room, and we had shared the story about what happens in those drawers amongst each other. And we noticed a student took out one screw. I don't know if they got a hold of a screwdriver. I don't know if the screw was stripped. Whatever, there's one screw that's just out a little bit. And this must have happened within the last day or two from when we had found it, because we're in there all the time. We would have noticed if a drawer was open. And don't we open it up, and there's just the biggest genitalia picture you could possibly, and candy bar wrappers. Like, right on cue. Right on cue. Within hours of opening that drawer, we know what it was used for. It just further proved that
That's
those
amazing.
drawers all need to be screwed shut and never opened again for the rest of the time. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I just think that's funny that we had never shared that among students. It's not like we had set that expectation.
That's
but
hilarious.
That's what they did with it. So, oh no, I'm sorry, Mr. Bose.
That's okay.
It's alright. It's alright.
Sorry, I don't want to cover up Whip Wellness.
We got the whole
Wow.
the whole crew down here.
And now you can see
That's a
it.
collage.
You can
But
see.
It's gorgeous.
You can
Mr.
see.
Steinbach, I said it's a fairly accurate commentary on high school.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
It is what it is, you know? We're used to
What
it.
it is.
Every now and then you walk into the bathroom and you see the trash can just chilling on top of the toilet.
I have not seen that.
On the
That's-
stall.
People post
Oh,
pictures of it too. I'm
on
like,
the
what?
divider between the urinals, trash can up on there.
There's just a trash can
Yeah.
chilling on the toilet. Like you open the stall, you think someone's in there, but it's a trash can. So
Now, I'm curious to hear if Senor Bose has any stories he'd like to share.
Let's see. I was thinking of one I think that you guys would get a kick out of. It's from when I was in high school. A
Yo.
freshman. Right. And this was kind of a funny connection that I ended up having, because kids always ask me about, because I went here, graduated in 2012, and they always say, like, oh, well, like, what teachers are still here? What principals, all this stuff. Like, did you know them? Did you have them? Especially in the history department. And I tell them, I had Miss Francis, who's still here. I had Mr. who's now Dr. Staub, he's over at STEM. I had Mr. Solar, and then I had Mr. Kearney. And I said, well, Mr. Hancock, I knew him from back when I was 5 years old, and Mr. Trombetta as well. And I said, but like there was this kind of funny connection like that I had with Steffi, but I didn't realize it until years later, where I was a freshman, and we were, I was in a gym class, and the gym classes back in the day, had a mix of freshmen, sophomores, some juniors, and for whatever reason, the gym teacher decided that we were going to play mat ball that day, and it was going to be upperclassmen versus freshmen, which is just a recipe for a disaster.
Yes.
yeah.
And so we're playing, and there's this. I'm on the base, and I'm running. So-and-so kicked the ball, and I'm running towards the base, and this big junior caught the ball, and he was like an athletic guy. I think he was on like the baseball team or something.
Oh, no.
He gets it, and I'm running straight at him, and he is just waiting for me to get closer, as close as I possibly can, so he can just whip the ball into my face as you know, at point blank range. So I decided that I wasn't gonna, you know, chicken out and like back down, like try and back out. I was like, I'm just gonna plow through
Send
this.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, send it.
And so
Full
that's what I
send.
did. So I run full speed at this junior. I'm a little freshman. He tries to throw it at my face and completely misses.
Yo.
And so I just go straight into this kid, like knock him down and immediately scramble on base. This kid is livid. He is so mad at me.
Wow.
And tries the entire rest of the period is just trying his best to like hurt me, like physically hurt me. Because all of his friends are dying laughing. He's getting made fun of because this little freshman just completely knocked him over. Like he completely whiffed and, you know, so that was that. And I ended up telling that story to some people later on and to Mrs. Steffi and she said, oh my God, I was covering that class that day. She was like, I was the teacher that this. She was like, as you're telling the story, I had this vague memory of this kid who looks kind of like you, just running into this kid, and this kid just being so mad. And I was like, oh, so you're the one who decided it was going to be a good idea, you know, which is classic stuff. I would absolutely expect that from her.
Class.
That's so
Shout
funny.
out.
We all know those kids that take gym class way too seriously.
Oh, it's-
I just don't understand why you have to take gym class 3 years in order to like graduate or whatever. I think that's so dumb. But you can get it waived.
Hey
You can
man,
get it, but
gotta get built sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually, side note about Miss Steffi's, I've never had her for history or talked to her, but I used to work at a retirement home serving food, and apparently her grandmother was one of the ladies I served. And she says, oh, my granddaughter, Miss Steffi's, works at D West. It's like, hey,
that's
hometown
chill.
pride.
That's chill.
cool. So,
So,
how about
I
we
think
jump
it's time.
into something more intense, if you will? So, we have two very intelligent special guests on the cast today.
Very
And
much
there's
so.
there's a ages-old question about whether chess is in fact a sport or not. So I'd like to hear these two teachers duke it out.
If you could, Mr. Steinmacher, I would love to hear your opinion on this topic first.
Now, this is gonna sound mean and conceited, but I don't even think it's an opinion. Like, I'm not sure how we can construe chess to be a sport. Now, listen up though before, and I would love to hear a counter. But what I have explained, Moose tried to convince me, even though I haven't budged one bit. I don't mean that as an insult. Sport is not good and not sport is not bad. Like I recognize the value of chess. I actually played chess a lot in high school. I haven't played as much recently, so I'm not saying I could beat anybody here or anything like that.
Oh, was that a challenge? No,
I'd be happy to play. I'd be happy. No, I'm not trying to. I might get cooked because it's been a long time since I've played
I don't
any.
even know how to play chess.
Oh, all right.
I bought a varsity chess T-shirt, but I don't even know how to play chess.
Oh,
Continue.
all right. So no, I totally recognize the skill involved in chess. In fact, I was also explaining recently to some students while Moo was bringing this up. I can't think of too many competitive activities or games that rely less on luck than chess. I mean, when two people sit down and play chess, it's all skill. And if you want to chalk any of it up to luck, so does someone have a bad day, maybe you sat down and something's on someone else's mind, all right, that's the only thing that you construe as luck as far as who wins a game of chess. It is all strategic, skill, practice, so I take nothing away from a good chess player. But a sport has to have something to do with athletic ability.
All right.
That's it.
Mr. Bose.
Mr. Bose.
Oh, here we go.
I completely agree.
What?
What?
I can't believe I said nothing.
I don't think that
No.
you can say chess is a sport. It's not a sport.
I thought you said it was.
When did I say that?
Oh.
What?
No.
I think, as he puts it, it's a competitive activity, but if you want to go by a dictionary definition of sport, it has something to do with athleticism. Or
I was preparing for like the craziest comeback.
I was preparing for
Oh
a
my
title.
God, I don't prepare for something completely different. Moo's been telling me for months, and he spoke for you, and I shouldn't have let him that you would be adamantly opposed to this. I gotta be honest, that was the biggest single draw to coming on here was,
I have nothing to say.
okay, I respect that immensely, Mike.
I did.
You knew about this, Michael.
I did know.
Why?
That.
Oh my
Michael.
God.
Sorry, I knew.
Michael,
I'll tell you the story. It's the same kind of
Michael.
thing.
Oh wait, we gotta go over the rules real quick.
I'm gonna go over the rules, okay? The only rules on this podcast contain roasting Michael for falling asleep during movies and for his crazy obsession with Elastigirl.
Both of those
Are
well,
very
one of
true.
them is true. One
Are
of them
very
is not
true.
true at all.
They're-
One of
they're
them is
so
not
true.
true.
I bet it's
made
the
up.
addiction to Elastigirl.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's false.
It's
That's
so
false.
true. It's
That is not false. In fact,
It's
I saw Michael fall asleep during Rushmore.
Listen, listen. We're gonna
That's
get into
why he came in to borrow it again last night.
that. I don't know.
No way.
Listen, you were asleep.
Wait, hold on. Michael McGarrahan and Mr. Bose do share a home. Therefore, Michael snuck into Bose's room.
I didn't sneak in.
And
Okay, he knew.
he stole Rushmore
I didn't steal nothing.
to watch the scenes that he fell asleep
That's
during.
false. Here's the deal. Yeah, I may have been a wee tired, okay, during Rushmore. Listen, Moose, shut up, okay? Go eat some peanuts, you Alright, so, the deal is, listen, I may have been a little tired during the end of Rushmore. It's a rough day. I was kind of feeling sick. My tonsils still swollen to the other side of my throat, right?
Lies.
Listen, the deal is, I've already seen the movie before. I'm gonna get into my opinion on it later. But I wanted to really indulge and watch the director's commentary, which I did do last night.
So you wanted
That's
to
why.
watch the director's commentary before the movie, so you decided to sleep during the whole movie so you could watch that first. So then you could steal Bose's movie again so you could watch it.
What? Yes. Wait. Sure. If you want to consider it, stab that motive.
I'll
Yes.
consider it.
So what were you dreaming about?
Wait,
Elastigirl?
pause. Before we move on, does anyone have any other conflicting ideas about
Oh, yeah,
chess
true.
as a sport?
Yeah, Moo's been trying to tell me chess is
Yeah,
sport
Moo,
for a
I
long
think
time.
I thought you had some.
all I'm saying is that you need to be physically built to keep that
To pick up a
concentration.
chess piece?
Keep the
All I'm saying is,
The best chess players, Bobby Fischer included, have advocated for the fact that in order to continue to be good at chess, you need to keep up your physical abilities. But the physical abilities have nothing to do with the actual playing of chess, all right? Just like, mind and body always go together, all right? You need to keep up your mind if you want to keep up your physical strength, and you need to keep up your physical strength if you want to keep up the strength of your mind, all right? The two are linked, all right? But chess has nothing to do with physical ability, all
Because
right?
by that
in the long
definition,
run, yeah.
what competitive activity
True.
isn't
that's what I'm
a
saying.
sport?
Yeah.
So you're
I mean-
saying if chess is a sport, marching band's a sport.
Oh,
That's all-
exactly.
That's
No,
all I'm saying. Exactly. Yes, he agrees.
No, exactly that would be the case,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, you agree.
Yeah.
That marching band is not.
Oh, yeah, I
Again,
know. I know it's not a
dis-
sport.
Marching
It's not a
band
sport.
also falls under the chess category. but
Exactly.
That's not an
Yeah,
insult.
yeah. No.
Marching band requires
I 100% agree with you.
incredible
Yeah,
amount
yeah.
of skill, practice, coordination. Which probably is not really a sport, even
Yeah.
though you do have to use some physical exertion to hold some of the heavier instruments, certainly, and the marching aspect of it. You have to be in decent shape for that. It just doesn't really.
I think they're two
Feel
different
like a
things.
sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
There's
two
definitely a
different
feeling back.
I don't think it
behind the
needs to
sport.
be
There's
called.
always a feeling
I don't
behind
think it
that,
needs
yeah.
to be called a sport. Like at that point, like it's a physical activity in a sense, and it takes some.
I'm very surprised that Mr. Bose turned on us like this.
Wait, so Mr. Steinmacher, you are saying that in order for something to be classified as a sport, it requires mass times acceleration.
Oh no, now you're getting me. Wait, I didn't say force. Did I say force anywhere?
No,
you said
exertion.
force.
Exertion. Yeah, but you can exert a lot of things. That doesn't have to be a force. I mean, there are forces in picking up a chess piece, but that doesn't make it a sport.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was
Well,
thinking off there. I don't know where you're going with this, man.
I'm just trying to get to the
physical-
physics side.
Okay.
Of your
Yes, mass
argument.
times acceleration is definitely the net force.
Force.
That's
what I'm
definitely
talking about.
net force.
How much-
I'm glad you must have had a great physics teacher last year, Cam.
I did, and I actually.
Not that you ever learned any of that at home ever.
I've heard that if they were to do this around a radius, it would actually be torque. Is
There
that,
you go.
is that correct?
That would be
Oh.
correct.
Hey, that's what we're learning right now.
Yeah.
You know, I actually briefly considered being a physics teacher.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a plot twist. Mr. Bo's throwing so many plot twists today.
Yeah.
I've heard you're quite the math whiz.
Am I? I mean, I'm all right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Brad
heard.
may or may not have taught me how to do derivatives on a napkin
So
back a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Steven taught me how to do derivatives in physics class, so there you go.
Wow.
So then why history? Real quick.
Why history? I mean, I've always just had a fascination with history. I
Cool.
never had a lot of experience with physics. Every year I used to go to Gettysburg with my family. I've always been fascinated by that, and just history in general. But yeah, it wasn't my senior year. I took physics here, and I loved it. I had not to toot my own horn, but I was really good at it. I tutored like half of my class in
Wow.
physics, but I really liked it. My physics teacher was like, "You sure you don't want to be a physics teacher?" And I considered it for a little bit because I
Wow.
did really like it. But
Wow.
That's impressive.
history has always been my passion.
Favorite historical topic or era?
Or
Any-
movie.
Or movie?
No cap.
Favorite historical era is really tough. I don't really have one specific. I love it all. I've really become more fascinated recently with world history in terms of like African and Asian history, and I've definitely been trying to learn a lot more about that. Just because the especially our school system focuses so much on U.S. history, and even my education, my post-secondary education at Drexel was really focused on American history, and I only had a few classes that were actually any kind of world history orientation. So I think it's something that is really lacking in the educational system. But been really fascinated by that. In U.S. history, I love the 19th century. That's like my go-to time.
Gilded Age.
Yeah, that's the late
Wow.
19th century. You should talk to Mr. Mapes about that. He loves the Gilded Age.
Ooh.
Mr.
So
May.
does Solar.
Yeah, and Solar. Solar's my boy. Solar was also the big inspiration for me to become a teacher in general.
Wow.
Yeah, he is a great teacher. Well, I always pegged you for an American Revolution kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the classic,
Classic, yeah.
thing in American history, but
Thank you for
I've liked it. It's something that I'm interested in, but it's never been something that I've been like, that's what I want to.
Yeah.
It's overplayed,
thinking more of a 90s history, Backstreet Boys type of
90s history.
Wait,
No.
before we move on, I gotta ask, for either of you, do you have a favorite president or historical figure?
Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon?
He's my favorite president.
Man,
I don't know if you've seen my mug. It says, "What would Nixon do?"
Oh, I've seen.
Exactly. Yes. Nixon. Why is he my favorite president? I'm fascinated. I think he's despite all his many flaws, I think he's a brilliant politician. If it hadn't been for Watergate, if there had not been those revelations, he probably would have gone down as one of our best presidents in U.S. history. Domestically, he didn't have a lot going on, but his brilliance in foreign policy, unmatched in most of the second half of the 20th century. But is he a good guy? Absolutely not. And definitely abused the powers of the presidency. But he is my favorite. I don't agree with Nixon, but I think that he's a fascinating figure in U.S. history.
Got a quick question about Nixon. Did you find his dog Checkers to be cute?
Checkers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a King Charles Spaniel.
Oh yeah, he's pretty cute.
Yeah.
Saw some pictures of him.
Good to
Checkers
know.
is cute.
About
Yeah, he's a-
Nixon. Are you a fan of All the President's Men?
Yeah, it's a great film.
Good movie.
I watched that when I was in high school for the first time. It's good. Yeah, Bob Woodward.
Woodward?
This one's for Mr. Steinmacher. Favorite physicist?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I love how he can just explain things. Like, he is a really smart person. Not the most brilliant person this earth has ever seen, not the most brilliant person on the planet right now, but he's probably the most amazing combination of smart and able to explain things at an elementary level. Like, I could just listen to him talk about anything. And I always try and tell people that's a real gift. Like, to be able to explain astrophysics in a way that middle schoolers can understand it, like I think he can do, is just incredible.
I've seen him talk about like the fourth dimensions and stuff like that, and like trying to explain that to like humans because we can't like process that. So he's like, he explained it to me, and I had a grasp on it. No, via YouTube, okay, and I had a grasp on it, and I just think that's amazing for him, like a physicist, and me, a high schooler. Just like, that's really interesting stuff.
And I just like all the other stuff he talks about. I mean, he'll go into, I remember him going off on a rant, so to speak, about science and the science industry and how we don't hear from more scientists. And he points out that the only reason we really hear from him is because he, I believe still is, certainly was, the director of the Hayden Planetarium. And so that involved a lot of outreach and, communicating with the public, and that got him obviously involved in TV and Cosmos and all that kind of stuff. But really just his work as a professor in New York, that's not why we hear from him. And it's kind of sad that we lose a whole lot of experts in a lot of different fields. It doesn't just have to be astrophysics, but in a lot of different fields. So just like, he enlightened me on that topic in and of itself, that we don't really seek out experts in fields. He can talk about anything. He's got a lot of opinions. He'll tell you about them. He's also not forceful. Like, who listens to him is like, now I'm insulted. Now, he can talk about controversial things, very controversial things, and yet no one gets insulted at the end. He's just like, here's how I see it, here's how I'm gonna lay it out, and as long as you have some amount of common sense from everything I've heard, you can meet him, you don't have to agree with him, but you can listen and have a respectful conversation. So he's just, that's why I like him more than his science work, to be honest.
So many people have interest in like the science stuff too. Like, I think how he sparked the era of like communicating with people about science and physics and stuff like that, and getting so many young people interested in it, like, opens my eyes. Like, it's just one person reaching out to all these people about it. Like, imagine if so many more scientists and physicists came out about that stuff and like talked about it. So many people would be interested in it, like, outside of them. So
without a doubt, in the last several years when I'm talking to kids, there's always 1 or 2 or 3 kids every year that all of a sudden say, I just love astrophysics, I really think that's a neat field. I'm like, well, how'd you get into that? And I ask in an unbiased way, and that's always how, I heard, I read his book, I listened to this podcast, whatever it is, but it usually stems with Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, he doesn't have his own, does he have his own podcast? See, that's the thing, I wish I made more time. I think he just makes the rounds. I think he's on a lot of different podcasts.
I feel like in the future you're going to see some students coming up to you and they're going to say they've been inspired by this podcast.
I was just going to say that.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
What I will say, I tried to get Neil deGrasse Tyson to come to, not this school, but the other school I worked at.
Whoa.
Oh gosh. Can't afford it.
Really?
Actually, it's actually not that hard to set up. I mean, you need a little bit of time to plan it. At least this was 6-7 years ago. This was a while ago, so he's obviously become a lot more popular since then. But it was $10,000 just to have him show up. Plus you had to pay for travel, put him in a hotel, limo, like the whole 9. Like, he had a very we're like, dude, this was a high school with 650 kids. And we're talking about half the budget for a marking period to run the whole school. That wasn't happening.
Just tell DASD and they'll get it figured out. We'll get Neil deGrasse Tyson here.
I'm guessing the appearance fee has gone way up since then.
For sure.
Most definitely.
But I thought that would have been awesome. And I had a student who just really loved everything he was doing. So I looked into it a little bit. That didn't go well.
I wonder how much money it is to like get him on like a podcast. Because I'm sure, does he reach out to like Joe Rogan?
They reach out to him.
No, they definitely
Yeah,
reach
yeah.
out
So
to
do
him.
they have to pay him to come on?
So, like, we were just talking about this specific podcast.
Yeah.
He had a book coming out shortly after that.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's my guess. I have no real knowledge of this. but he's probably willing to come on to a podcast heard by millions to advertise his book. And he had that was the first time I had heard about his book, and I own it probably because of that podcast, or at least that's why I bought it as early as I did. So I kind of feel like there's some give and take there, but I don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely more of like a promotional cost for them in terms of they're willing to come on for free because it's free advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Him showing up at Wilson Area School District was not free advertising. So he needs to be paid for his time.
That's hilarious.
Mr. Steinmacher, I thought, we asked Mr. Bose this question already, but I thought we'd ask, like, why did you get into physics and why did you decide to teach that?
Well, I was studying engineering at Penn State, and I just didn't really like engineering as much as I thought I would. Sorry for the students who have already heard this, but I found out that engineering wasn't quite as much fun as I thought in high school. So I didn't go to West or Downingtown, but I went to a similar high school. We had a lot of money sunk into our engineering classes, and the engineering classes here and at my school were awesome. I'm not knocking them. I just learned very quickly that the entire job of an engineer is not playing with 3D printers and robotics and laser engravers like the engineering classes here. And I think that's great in high school to be exposed to some of the coolest stuff, because if you went to another elective class and then learned what real engineering looked like, you'd kind of go crazy. It wouldn't really be an elective anymore.
Yeah.
But real engineering really consists a lot more of sitting down, doing physics problems, or these days, just having a computer help you do that, programming a computer to do those problems for you. So when I learned that, I jumped into education. I really decided I wanted to be a teacher, and then the engineering background kind of gave me the physics and math that I needed. So I'm certified to teach math. I would rather not teach math. I just like physics because it's got all the cool toys. And that's really where I settled in. I was like,
awesome.
Physics just has so many neat things that you can do. I mean, today's class was just a blast. It was one of the coolest days in all of physics class. We really blew a lot of minds today. So I'm in it for that reason. I love the subject for that reason. Although I'll be fully honest, it's not my passion for physics itself. Like, you'd never see me trying to get a master's or a doctorate in physics. I know some teachers do, and that's awesome. For me, it's just about the cool stuff that we get to do in high school physics that I really like. But it really just started with deciding to be a teacher, and then, well, I'm good at physics. Physics is fun.
That's
Let's
awesome.
do it.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Mr. Steinmacher, I'm one of your students, so I know that you're a huge Disney fan,
I am.
and I thought we can go around and talk about some Disney and Pixar movies and the different stages of Disney.
For sure.
I bet Michael's going to talk about Incredibles.
I saw it coming.
Actually,
You did it because you were asleep.
Incredibles 2 just came out on Netflix January 31st.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
What?
I just saw it.
It did.
2 days ago.
Michael.
I can confirm it was on Netflix.
I've seen the watch history on Netflix.
No. You haven't seen any kind of watch history. No. There's a reason I fell asleep, okay? There's a reason I fell asleep in the theater for that movie. There's a reason.
Sure.
We know why.
Because I don't care about Elastigirl or the movie, that's why.
What's really convenient is that Incredibles 2 is really mostly about Elastigirl.
Yeah,
Like,
I
she's
know it's-
clearly the main
That's
character.
why I
in that
fell
movie.
asleep, okay?
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
I'm sure.
That's a good one.
That's cute, Michael.
It's a double whammy. You're falling asleep while watching Elastigirl. It's just like,
Alright, just like
Alright,
before we
alright.
make Michael.
You know what? Let's
Cry.
all go around and say our favorite Disney and Pixar. So pick one Disney, one Pixar. I guess I'll kick it off. Disney for me, Lion King. I mean, it's pretty tough to beat.
live
Then
action, right? No.
Pixar. Oh, you better watch it now. I've already burned enough steam on how much I dislike the idea of a live action. But Lion King for of course animated. Lion King for Disney, and then Ratatouille for Pixar.
Oh, I love that.
That's the most
Dark
movie
Horse,
selection
yeah.
ever.
Classic.
The least mainstream Pixar movie out there.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's also the least
So good.
It's not even. It's not people's least favorite. It's the least talked about Pixar
yeah.
movie.
That's true.
It should be talked about more. That's all I'm saying.
It's a quality movie.
Oh yeah, Incredibles and Finding Nemo are a close second though.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. For me, favorite Disney movie. Rushmore.
Yo.
Wait, explain.
Well, they funded Rushmore.
They
And,
did.
you know, they're
No
like,
way.
you know, because they're like the parent company
Yeah,
of the parent company of the parent company that
Paramount,
financed
right.
Rushmore. But no, I'm just kidding. Favorite Disney movie? I really like Saving Mr. Banks. About Mary
Tom
Poppins.
Hanks one?
That was a good one.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I liked that one. I really, really liked that one. Critics didn't give it the best reviews, but I liked it a lot. I liked the story. I thought it was well done. Jason Schwartzman does a wonderful
Oh.
job in that movie.
Jason.
Jason Schwartzman, yeah, who is
Yeah.
the lead character in
That's
Rushmore.
correct.
Yeah. So that's probably one of my favorite Disney movies. And then Pixar, I mean, I gotta go classic, just Toy Story.
There it
You know.
is.
It's a good one.
I'm gonna say Nemo,
Yo.
classic. And you'll have to get back to me on my second. I gotta think about this one. for a
Speaking
little
of
bit.
Nemo, fun fact. My mother told me I would not eat food at the age of 3 unless Nemo is on the television. True story.
Wow.
Stardom
class-
Growing
that's a
up, that was my
classic move.
favorite.
Stardom
That was my
young.
favorite movie.
Wow.
But things have changed
It's
slightly.
weird to think about how much older I am than you guys now.
That's alright.
Listen, Finding Dory was great. Not as good as Finding Nemo.
No, not
Not
at
even a
all.
No.
comparison.
It was a
Idris
cute
Elba
movie,
was
but-
wonderful in it
Oh yeah,
as the
a
seals. But
Yeah.
Alright, I guess we are on me. So, Moo, you'll have to clarify whether this is Disney or Pixar. Not really sure, but Monsters, Inc.
Pixar.
was hugely a part of my childhood. Great movie. And then Disney. This is gonna sound weird, but I really love and appreciate the music in Princess and the Frog. It's based in New Orleans, so
it's
a
a
lot of
really
kind
good
of
one.
New Orleans jazz, which is really nice. But
Oh, that's right.
I like Toy Story, which is another Pixar. That's classic.
Toy Story 2 for me.
What is
Ooh.
Cars? Is Cars Disney?
That's
That's
Pixar.
Pixar.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't like to think about cars.
You like Cars?
The first Cars had a dope soundtrack.
Let's just say Mater's a goat.
No one knows the soundtrack. All
Oh, I'm
everybody
talking about
knows
Life
is
is a
Life.
Highway.
That's it. That's what is that the soundtrack?
That song alone is better than 90% of soundtracks in movies.
So
And they play they play Shaboom when they're doing when he
You're right.
finishes
See, I don't even
heaving.
remember that
Yeah.
because of Life
Heaving.
is a Highway.
Yeah.
Like that was the only music that Disney threw out there for 10 years.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, I went to Disney World and I stayed at the Art of Animation Hotel, if anybody's familiar with that. So it's themed after 4 different movies there. So they got the Little Mermaid section, and they got the Finding Nemo section, and the Lion King section, and the Cars section. For the record, total side note, Cars is the best themed out of all of those. Like when you go in there,
wow.
it's like you're there. I mean, it's so cool. I love that. But then they got, so when you're in the hotel lobby, they got obviously music playing. And so I felt like the music, the playlist that Disney was running there was about 1/4 the Little Mermaid songs, 1/4 the Lion King songs, 1/4, I guess Finding Nemo doesn't really
Oh,
have
it has good, great score. Thomas.
Yeah, it has a
Newman.
score, but it doesn't really have the songs.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
no.
It's got Beyond the Sea during the credits.
yeah, that's about it. So, and then everything else was Life is a Highway. Like I heard Life is a Highway 5, 6, 10 times a day on the bus, in the lobby, walk into my room. I mean, it was just
That's
everywhere. I'm so over Life is a Highway, which is a fine song, just not like the #1 song. Which, by the way, was that even written just for Cars? I don't know. Or is that a
don't
song?
think so.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
I think it just happened to fit
Yeah.
with the
there are a
theme, yeah.
lot of there's a lot of good Disney music that I put way above Life is a Highway, and you'd think it's just
Hans
#1
Zimmer's
everywhere.
score for The Lion King.
I'm
Elton John's
in.
Music's
Elton
good.
John.
I'm
Yeah.
in.
But
But all
Hans
those.
Zimmer's score is on another level.
Nah, I'm not a big Life is a Highway fan anymore. It's too overplayed.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, favorite Pixar. See, I'm gonna go with the classics just because it's what I grew up with. I mean, I was born in 1989, so Toy Story came out in 1995. That was, I mean, Buzz and Woody are on my credit card right now. That's not a joke. I have Toy Story Vans. That is more money that I've ever spent on any pair of shoes in my life.
No way.
I have to have 6, 7, 8 different Toy Story T-shirts, and I don't wear T-shirts that often.
Yeah.
And specifically, I was a Buzz fan. My dog's name is Slinky. I mean, it's just So I'm sorry to pick the easy answer there, but there's always Toy
There's no
Story.
easy
It's the classic.
And then I still remember my aunt
It's the
taking
first,
me to
it's
see
the best.
Lion King in theaters. And the great thing about Lion King I always loved, it's hard to pick many movies that fit into this category. Lion King is distinctly not geared towards guys or girls. Little boys, little girls. It's really one of the few, like, you got a lot of princess movies. You put Hercules and Aladdin and even Toy Story, Cars, more into for boys. And I'm not saying there's not, Nemo certainly would qualify too, but Lion King is one of the few movies I think that really is just good for anybody. Adults, children, so I thought, definitely Lion King. If I had to do an old one, Fantasia. Doesn't get it. Fantasia was just cool because Walt Disney actually worked on it. And you gotta really be into it. That's not a kid's movie, even though it's a cartoon. But the animation, the music that went behind it, and if you really learn about Fantasia, like that was totally revolutionary for its time. I got some Sorcerer Mickey socks. Who made his appearance in Fantasia. So.
Yeah.
Working for the, I'm sorry, I'm nerding out here. Working for
please.
the,
That's what we
do
want.
we know what the sorcerer's name was? Anybody? Even Moo? Jensen.
Wow.
Disney spelled backwards.
Oh!
That is the sorcerer in the Sorcerer's
Wow.
Apprentice.
Was it really spelled like YENSID?
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Wow.
not sure that ever. I don't know how I know that. I'm not sure that the name is written in the movie.
Oh, written, but it's still
that
said.
is the name of the character. I'm not sure it's said.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know how I know that, but I know that the sorcerer is Jensen, and
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
Fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah, Lion King's one of those movies where I think there's no mood where I don't feel like watching The Lion King.
Definitely.
You know it's also a good movie? Sorry, before Michael.
okay.
Dude, Wall-E is such a great movie.
Oh,
Always
I choose.
awesome.
Wall-E was just... That was probably my favorite movie growing up.
Actually, kind of scarred me as a kid. I loved the opening with I love the opening with
Of course
Wally
it did.
himself and in that world he's in. But I remember when it went into like when
It
they showed
scared
you what
me
was
too.
really going on,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is like
Yeah.
he's living on a landfill basically, and they showed
Yeah.
you what like people were really living like. It hit me as a kid, and I was just like, that scares me a lot. Like
It's like,
that
that
tomorrow.
could be true.
Yeah, so that just it made me feel uncomfortable almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Lion King plays a big part of my life. I still remember every like not New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, I would go to my like great aunt's house and we would shove in that VHS tape right into that TV
Would
and
you
watch
now?
it. It was amazing. And like I remember I would just sit down thinking like, oh, I'm gonna watch for like 5 minutes and go get like some cake. And then I remember it would just be the rest of the night. Me and my siblings' eyes just sucked into that tube. But so I really do love that movie. But it's kind of weird. I think my favorite Disney movie, it's not Pixar, definitely not Pixar, but I think for some reason, like even if I don't feel the same way about it now, I think my favorite Disney movie that I had experienced was Tron Legacy. I'm not even kidding. That I still remember going to the theaters with you and Dad to see that. And for some reason, like just seeing the trailers and that I think the world that film created was something that inspired me so much. Like I was so intrigued by the fact I was like, what is that? Like I wanted to go there. I was like, I wanted to go.
Amazing
Yeah.
soundtrack.
I was like, I really want to go and like be in that world with these light bikes and everything. Like it just
Yeah.
seems so amazing to me. And the fact, and I remember when I went to that theater, like to see that, I was so excited. I've never been like more excited. Like at the time, that was the first time when I really wanted to see a movie. I remember when I got it on, it might have been. It's probably DVD. I don't think I even knew what Blu-rays were back then. But when I got it on DVD, I remember like coming home. I remember coming home and just like freaking out that I had it and I could watch it again. But yeah, so that one I think it's weird. It's not really one of the it's not a classic like at all. It's like pretty modern, like early 2000s, but or mid 2010s. But it just that was really probably that's probably my favorite Disney movie. But yeah.
Any Pixars?
Any Pixar? Is
throw
Cars
one
Pixar?
Yes.
Because I think Cars is one of my favorites. Then yeah, I just say
Life
Cars.
is a Highway is my
Yeah.
favorite song.
No, that's actually I actually
wait.
despise that
Wait,
song
wait.
just as
Wait.
Sister Steinbach does.
Where do the Incredibles fall in here?
Yeah,
I think that's
don't fall
too.
anywhere.
I think
That's an
it's
individual
too good.
character.
Okay.
Individual character, you know.
I can't
thought-
believe
I
they
thought
turned
just
Cars
broke
into a
his
real
bench.
thing.
Oh my god.
That's it.
What?
What do you guys think of modern Disney movies, like animation-wise? Like not the actual animation, but animated Disney movies coming out now. Like
Give us
Pixar.
some,
You know, like Moana.
Oh, okay.
I hate Moana.
They're just not as good as the ones in the 90s.
Moana soundtrack.
I just
man,
I haven't seen them.
so stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
Moana was
Lin-Manuel
so-
Miranda.
Yeah,
Moana
I
was
love
so
which
average.
I love. But, yeah,
I really haven't had the opportunity to
What is-
I saw
watch
Moana.
them.
It was fine.
What are some other ones like?
Frozen is
Oh.
fine. Minus, I know there's one song that
thought
just took the
Frozen's
whole
so
world
good.
by storm. But if you
By
take
what?
if you take that one song out, that's a fine movie. It's not bad. It's not good. It's neat.
Oh yeah, I'm very bored by that movie. Man. Also,
They-
new Pixar's like sequels, they're going too
It's
crazy.
just too many
Yeah.
sequels.
Too
Yeah.
crazy.
But they're
Yeah.
trying to recapture that magic that they had for that 15, 20
Yeah.
year run. What I don't know exactly when it would start and stop, but
While we were
they're
growing
pumping
up.
out so many.
Yeah.
Well, and while we were growing up,
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
guys had the
Well,
Disney's
everyone, yeah,
golden
that's
age,
what I'm saying.
and we had
All of us,
Pixar's
yeah.
golden age.
Yeah, I have not seen nearly enough as well. I mean,
I suffered all of them.
Moo put Coco on my recommended
Coco.
I
list.
just watched that
Coco's
last
a
weekend.
great
I like
movie.
Coco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did something new, which was
They did
really
some
fun.
crazy work in that movie,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
I
Animation.
heard a
Ridiculous
fascinating thing
animation.
about Coco, about how so there's this one town in Mexico that makes those guitars.
Yeah.
Like those,
Wow.
like the ones that like kind of look like skulls, like, you know, really beautiful. There's like this one town in Mexico that's like famous for that, and where they were like kind of on the decline. And then Coco came out, and everybody wanted those guitars.
Wow.
And so like
Wow.
all of a sudden, like the economy of the town started picking up, became like this huge tourist attraction, like all this stuff, like because that movie, and because they, and like even they said how Pixar went down there, they were trying to be so accurate with their details in the movies that they went
Wow.
like to that town to like talk to the guitar makers about like what the guitars actually look like and like what's realistic and all that. And
They did a great
Yeah,
job with
that's
that
really
movie.
cool.
That
That's
was
exciting.
it's
Yeah.
such an easy story and stuff. I think it was really well done. So it's a great movie.
Well, what's not such an easy story, or maybe it is Rushmore. Bad lead in.
before we get into Rushmore, you guys want to hear a funny story about Michael when he was younger?
Oh
Yes.
yes, please.
Wait, I see a picture in my mind with Michael in a Buzz Lightyear's.
Oh, I know.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh, okay,
I'm
good.
not going
That-
to
I
talk
think
about
that's
that.
clear.
I won't embarrass him that much. I mean, there's also the Spider-Man costume.
True.
Michael really liked the costumes. A certain interview
Spider-Man.
of which there is footage, so you might want to try and find that at some point. And get that. No, this is a story of I was babysitting one night, and Michael and TK, they shared a room, and they had bunk beds, and they were in bed, and I could hear them talking through the walls, and I hear Michael whisper to TK, he's like, TK, I have a secret I have to tell you.
No way. Wait.
And like I start to like get up and like get real close. I'm like, what's he gonna say? Like, what is he about to tell this kid? And this was like TK had been here for like less than a year at this point.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And so
Barely
he's
knows
like,
English.
he's like, yeah, like, you can't tell anybody. Like, I'm gonna tell you, like, you can't tell anybody. Like, it's super, like, don't tell anybody. And so I'm like, oh man, like, should I go in there and like, but like, what's about that? And like, he's like, Santa isn't real. No. He was like, don't tell our sisters. Like, don't say anything. Like,
What?
You know what's funny? I think
so I started dying laughing. But I thought Michael was gonna like tell him something like super dark or like tell him some like curse words or something. And like he's like, Santa isn't real.
That's so funny, Brad. I'm so glad you remember that, dude. Oh my gosh, it's funny because I remember having a phase where like I just learned that he wasn't. I don't think I ever really believed in him, but like I remember kind of having this phase where like I felt really kind of like constrained and almost like mellow, and I was just like, just I knew what people didn't know.
I think
My
you
peers
probably
didn't
felt
know.
really guilty about
Exactly,
knowing
kind of
this
guilt, yeah.
and not having anybody like.
I'm
That's
just
what I mean,
watching
yeah.
everyone like.
That's
So you like
"Santa's
had
coming,"
to
you're
tell
just like,
somebody.
I had
You're
to.
like, let me tell this kid who doesn't really speak English.
That's good. But yeah, I definitely can see, even if I don't specifically remember that moment, like I can definitely, I believe that happened. Oh man.
Shout out to TK.
Oh yeah,
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
TK.
Michael, you can tell us anything, and TK
This is
anything.
TK.
Okay.
TK.
But
Oh, but speaking of Spider-Man, real quick, not to throw a curveball, but so if you know me, I'm a huge fan of the original two Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 1 and 2, nothing more. But Sam Raimi movies. Second one is still it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But my mother tells me a story so apparently I was a very unresponsive kid and very quiet kid, like I wasn't speaking at the correct age. But she told me that whenever she'd call my name, I wouldn't turn around or respond or anything. But then she'd say Spider-Man, and immediately I'd look back.
That's hilarious.
That was one of the other movies that I'd eat too, Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Wow.
Spider-Man Hill.
Oh yeah, there's also one
Spider-Man.
party where I was just standing at the top of a slide, and instead of going down the slide, I was just doing this.
That's hilarious.
Right, shall we dive into this Wes Anderson film? Mr. Rose, would you like to introduce this one?
Sure. So Rushmore is Wes Anderson's second feature-length film. The first being Bottle Rocket. He also, which he co-wrote with Owen Wilson. Rushmore. He also co-wrote with Owen Wilson. It was released in 1998, featuring Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, and Olivia.
Wilson, right?
No, it's not Wilson.
It's not Wilson. Oh, Williams.
Williams,
Yep.
Olivia Williams, as the three main characters. It follows them, kind of this bizarre love-ish, like triangle-ish thing between this high school student who's Jason Schwartzman, an elementary school teacher at the private school he goes to, who is Olivia Williams, and then Bill Murray, who is this kind of business tycoon who befriends Jason Schwartzman's character.
So should we all go around and give initial reactions?
Sure.
Brendan, you can start out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I thought the characterization and the main character, what's his name? Sorry.
Max.
Max
yeah,
Fisher.
and Max Fisher. I thought that was so well done, like his character and his acting. I thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this film as well. One thing I thought was cool was I wasn't exactly sure what this type of music was, but it was kind of a Baroque harpsichord type
Yeah.
string stuff in
It's,
the
uh,
beginning.
right, yeah.
It's all
Dropping the knowledge, eh?
it's made by Mark Mothersbaugh,
Yeah.
who is the founder of the band Devo in the 1980s.
Oh, Devo.
And he does most of the scores for Wes Anderson films.
Recently,
Yeah.
he's been using Alexandre Desplat, or whatever his name is. After like Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think that's when he started.
So I thought that music was cool, and then we heard a lot of kind of rock music, which we discussed a bit after viewing the movie. I think Mr. Bose said there was a bit of The Who.
Yeah, there's some Who in there. Originally, he wanted to do the movie with all songs by the Kinks, but then settles for more of just a classic rock score. So you've got the Who, you've got the Rolling Stones, you've got the Kinks, you've got the Faces. A lot of classic songs, classic bands.
Yeah, and then I just thought the three main characters were all super well done, great acting, and I always enjoy seeing Bill Murray. So yeah, good film.
Oh man, let's just say I wasn't a big fan. Now, here's the thing, I don't mean that as an insult. In fact, I would take it upon myself to say that might be a movie that's just more in depth than what I'm looking for on a Tuesday night, because I did watch this last night. After school, just eating some dinner, watching a movie, but I was a little confused as to the purpose. It was a little awkward. I don't know. And again, I'm watching this purely from a teacher's point of view now. The first time I saw it was yesterday. I'm a teacher. I'm like, there's some things in here that I'm not totally fond of. So, yeah, it ultimately, I will say it moves. I mean, do not blink. You'll miss a lot of plot. It's not a slow movie by any means. And so I don't mean it as an insult or how could anybody like this movie. I know maybe that's what you guys want, so we can start screaming at each other. But I don't know a lot about it. I did like the music. I'm definitely a classic rock fan in general. But No, it didn't do that much for me. I was like, what's happening? And then it kind of happened and it was over and I'm not even sure what happened at the end. I mean, I saw the ending, but I don't know really where anything was left off. So it's not one of those types of movies. It's definitely a deeper movie.
That's a bit of a study in existentialism.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not my type of movie. Not knocking it. It's just I'm usually looking for The Incredibles. You know,
Yo, Michael is too.
so that's kind of where I stood there.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really did enjoy this film. I watched it. Brad over here showed it to me a while ago, maybe like a little less than a year ago, and then watched it again earlier. But I think the simplicity of the film just kind of shocks me, and like how powerful it is. Even though it's like you look at these crazy like big budget movies, with all this VFX going on and everything, like huge cast. But I think this movie is just like not really dry, but it just seems so simple. But there's so much packed into it. And like Wamu, I heard him say earlier, the opening scene. That's what really got me hooked, because it's just like immediately just sucked into this like crazy environment like of just this like fantasy with him like wanting to solve the geometry problem. Like I just love that I don't know his name, but the teacher's act, the way he acts, like it's so good. It's like no, it's like if anyone solves this, like
so two things about the scene. So apparently the geometry problem that's on the board is difficult, but apparently it's something about finding diameter or it's something like
really?
It's complicated, but like it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the most difficult. And the other thing about that scene is I remember a few years ago, 5-6 years ago. I don't know if you guys were familiar with the regular show on Cartoon
Oh
Network.
my gosh!
They do the scene.
Yep, I remember that exact
Wait, what?
episode.
They do that
They do a
scene in one of
parody
their
scene,
episodes where they have one of the characters who's like he like does
It's
the
when
whole
Rigby is,
like he does like the whole math
Rigby.
problem.
Oh, yeah,
and then
Rigby's
he
trying
like
to get his
wakes up.
diploma.
Yeah, and then he like wakes up from the thing. So
Really?
Yeah, Rigby's
Wow.
trying to get his
there are
diploma.
people out there who are also fans of Rushmore.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
so cool.
That's
I love
really cool.
regular show. Yeah, I love this movie. It's my second favorite Wes Anderson movie, and I love pretty much all his movies that I've seen. But my favorite will always be Fantastic Mr. Fox. So Isle of Dogs is like 4 or 5, but
Oh.
Fantastic Mr. Fox for me is like that's like game changer movie for me. But Rushmore is awesome because some of his newer movies almost get too Wes Anderson, if you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you're talking
This
about.
one is like
Yeah.
there's a lot of style, but it feels like there's more heart to it.
I think it's the most accessible Wes Anderson movie.
100%. 100%. But yeah, it's very nice. I think the humor is amazing. It's such a funny movie. Like Bill Murray just blocking the kid makes me
Oh, that's so funny.
and also Bill Murray just putting in cigarettes in his mouth.
The double standard.
Dude, how many
Really
cigarettes
funny.
did he smoke in that movie? Like, oh my.
Probably a lot.
Climbing the ladder of the diving board with the glass in one hand and
The
a cigarette.
Budweiser shorts.
That was
The
fun.
shorts.
Look,
You
it
can
wasn't-
tell like that's a man whose life is starting to go downhill.
He's so good at that movie.
Yeah,
He's insane.
that was
might-
hilarious.
That's like maybe my favorite Bill Murray performance or second. It's between that and Lost in Translation, but he is insane in that
So
movie.
the other thing that I read about that, so Bill Murray, they wrote that script specifically with Bill Murray in mind, and were worried that they weren't going to be able to get him because it was going to be too expensive. I mean, it's Bill Murray, and his agent loved it, gave it to him. Bill Murray loved it so much, he did it for essentially free.
Wow.
I think their budget. I think he got paid $9,000 for that movie.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
which seems like a lot, but you know when you're talking about
Yeah,
a big
no.
actor like that, like he
Yeah.
loved that script so much, he loved it so much, he didn't want to do. He actually even at one point in time, Disney didn't want to cut Wes Anderson a check to do this scene that he wanted to do, and Bill Murray wrote him a blank check to cover the cost of the scene.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Actually, in the commentary, he was talking about how they reached out to him, and I think he was trying to get him to say like, "Hey, do you want to watch my first film, Bottle Rocket, just to get an idea?"
Yeah.
But I think he said he wouldn't watch it for some reason. Like he just didn't want to watch it, and but he still agreed to do the movie because he read the script and he was like, I immediately want to do this. Like I don't even need to see what you worked on before. I think Wes was making a joke saying like, I'm kind of glad he didn't see my first film because I wonder if he would have seen it. He would have said no, then knowing like if he didn't like it. So
Water Rock's a wild movie.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Only
haven't
Wes
seen
Anderson
it,
movie
yeah.
I have not seen.
I've yet to see Darjeeling and Royal Tenenbaums.
I've got them both. Criterion Collection.
Yo, I love me some Criterion.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you guys think of Wes Anderson as a whole? Like, is he one of your favorites or?
He's my favorite director.
Oh,
I've always had a love for Wes Anderson films.
yeah. He makes some very, like, whenever he makes a movie, I'm gonna see it in theaters.
Oh, for
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, there's few directors working today where I'd say that. Him, Edgar Wright, Paul Thomas Anderson, my number one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Nolan, Tarantino, those guys. Villeneuve. Oh, so good.
M. Night.
But yeah,
Come on with the podcast.
Yeah. M. Night, shout out. I know you're local.
Yeah.
Come out. We'd love to have you. We could talk for days, okay?
Oh, I could talk for days about M. Night.
Moo, do you got anything for next week? Any recommendations?
Well, we got two very special guests next week. Probably two of the most intellectual basketball fans, if you will. So, thought I'll tailor this recommendation towards more of a basketball film.
Ooh.
And I know Croft somehow has not seen this movie yet. And I'll put you on
Apologize.
blast, and you as well, Mike, if you haven't seen it.
I have
yet.
seen this. I have.
Air Bud.
It's the film with starring Michael Jordan,
Yo.
Space Jam.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
We have that on VHS.
That's
at
right.
home,
That's
Michael.
what I've seen it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was my childhood. I was
Absolutely.
Michael Jordan for Halloween once.
Yo.
I still have the
That's
mask. My
awesome.
parents went all out. I got like the nice mask from Party City.
Yeah.
All I wanted for my birthday was a reversible Michael Jordan jersey. I don't know if my mom still has that. The red on the one, the black on the other side. 23, not 45. Oh, that was.
Good man, good man.
That was, I don't know, yeah, that was mostly because of Space Jam. I was probably not old enough to really follow basketball that seriously. It was all Space Jam love.
Did you know that the Space Jam website is still operational? The original Space Jam website. You can
Really?
still go on it.
Yo,
I don't think like any of the links work, but the page is still up.
They said they were gonna
He
remake
checks it
that.
every day.
They said they were gonna remake Space Jam.
they said
Yeah,
LeBron.
yeah, with LeBron, yeah.
LeBron, yeah.
LBJ.
Yeah, but they've been saying, I've heard that like 5-6 years ago,
Steph.
I feel like. So
I didn't know
I heard it
about that
before
one.
Steph was in the NBA.
That's
I
another
think, so I don't know.
classic Bill Murray movie.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
He's one of the.
Good
Yeah, he comes at the end of the movie
the
to
end.
play on the team. Oh, sorry,
right.
Crawford, spoiler.
Oh no!
It's alright.
I didn't.
Thanks for nothing, Michael.
You should have seen the movie by now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Alright.
If you're that big of a
Guilty as
basketball fan.
Exactly.
On that note, Mr. Bose, Mr. Steinmacher, Jesus. We appreciate you guys coming on this podcast, and we just want to let you guys know that we were looking forward to this since the beginning, and to have you guys on, it was an honor.
Yeah, sincerely, we really appreciate it, and it means a lot to us and our listeners. So
Yeah, this
Thanks
is
a million.
a long-awaited episode, if you will.
Yeah, this is like our dream episode to have you guys on, seriously, and it's coming true. It came true.
I honestly think when we envisioned building this podcast up, this was the pinnacle.
Yeah, it
we
builds to
thought.
this moment.
Let
yeah.
me put it this way. Every single time Mike fell asleep during movies, I can almost guarantee you his dream was this episode.
Yes.
Exactly.
It said memory card full, but
Oh,
it's
well,
alright.
so the video might have cut off now, but...
Hopefully it did it.
It's fine.
Oh, it
It's fine.
definitely did, but...
No, it's fine.
And on that note,
Well, thank you guys for having us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sorry, Cam, I totally cut you. I don't know how this works. I'm sorry. I've never done this before.
Don't worry. You guys go. What? Do you have anything to say? Oh, no.
Just end it.
Oh, you just real cut off.
Damn.
What the heck? Come on.
Sorry, guys.
Like,
Two, one. Damn!